Did you know that nearly 80% of entrepreneurs who trust their intuition in business report feeling more aligned, more successful, and more energized in their work? That's a really powerful statistic to me. And I know that I feel that when I am aligned and I'm trusting my thought, my gut, and my instincts, I feel more excited about my work. So when you tap into your inner wisdom, you can make decisions with confidence, creativity, and a true sense of purpose. Welcome to another magical episode of the Spark Ignite Your Marketing podcast. I'm your host, Beverly Cornell, and in today's episode, it's going to ignite something really special for you. Our guest today is Megan Camille. She's a psychic and intuitive business consultant who's built not one, but two seven-figure businesses from scratch using her own unique approach that blends energetics with strategy. Megan's entrepreneurial journey is nothing short of extraordinary. She's a mother of 5, a thriving business owner, and an inspiration to those who want to create a life of abundance and joy while doing business their way. Megan works with entrepreneurs, doctors, naturopaths, chiropractors, real estate agents, and artists to help them tap into their intuition, scale their businesses, and create lives they absolutely love. Megan, I'm so excited to have you here today.
Hello. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm loving the whole intro there. It is great marketing. I'm like, no, I love this.
It's something I like to do every day. So what you do is like right in alignment because I'm here for more kindness, more joy, and more wellness. So all the things that all the people you serve are like, that's the people we serve. And I just think the world needs more joy and good in the world. And we have a short life to live. And if we can create more of that. So I actually sought you out. I saw you on a podcast match email and I saw what you did. And I was like, oh, I want to know her. That's the lovely thing about this podcast. Is I get to meet people and have conversations and get to know them a little bit more when I see somebody really interesting. And I thought your bio was very interesting.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So tell me about how you got started. There's no school for psychics, right? Like, how does that work?
I've had the most unconventional education, no matter how hard I tried to have a regular one. I was born psychic. I was born intuitive. And I was also homeschooled for much of my school years. So that particular skill was more developed because I was not actually in mainstream public school. And what I naturally had was very normal to me, though it was also scary. By the time I was 15, I was doing professional psychic readings. My mom is an entrepreneur for 35 years. She ran her own business and she supported executive and entrepreneurial women. So I had no idea that there was breadcrumbs guiding me to where I would one day be because they're talking about business, they're talking about finance. My mind did not understand, but I could still tune in to the messages that was coming through for them. And then I had a real repression and exiled that aspect that was so intuitive and just wanted to be normal and fit in, but it was always there, right? It was always the bread leading me to what I would be doing today.
Was there a specific light bulb moment or a spark, we call them, where you decided I'm all in on this?
Yes, there was. It was my first marriage. I was going to school thinking that I was going to be pre-med. My mom, who is an entrepreneur, she's, what are you doing? It was like my first semester or something of college. I'm like, I got 10 more years in this school and I'm married to my husband who I need now. He's financially supporting me. So what would you do if you felt that you did not require someone taking care of you? So I started my first business. There was a couple months in there hemming and hawing, but I had an intuitive knowing that what she was sharing was so true. And I had avoided it because I didn't know where to start. Even with her as my mom, I didn't care to do it her way. I almost wanted to do it completely opposite. So I started a business inside our home. And what happened, I quit school, started that business. And what happened was my then husband was like, this is not what we agreed on. We agreed on a traditional family. And so his request was for me to stop. This then eventually led to our demise in being in relationship. I thought for sure he would come to his senses and be like, wow, you're doing great with this business. I love the extra money. And he thought I would come to my senses and snap back to my role. We both came to our senses and realized we just weren't a great match. But that was the pivotal moment. Was I had a calling. I knew I wanted to do more, but I was very afraid, right? I still had those human thoughts, but the pull to do something else.
The things that society has placed upon us are heavy weights that we have to either decide to carry or to let them go. I feel like our generation is redefining what that looks like. And that's been a struggle. Like that I don't have to come home and make the food. You can make the food. I don't have to do all the things. You can do some of the things. It is a whole different generation of what a partnership looks like and what a person who owns a business, a woman owning a business looks like as well. I feel you. I think probably most women feel you. They talk about balance all the time. And I don't think there's really balance. That's like an unachievable societal thing. But you find what's good works for you and your family.
Sometimes I'm on fire with kids and school, and other times I'm on fire with business, and it becomes like a harmonic, maybe like a melody versus balance, like same equal amount of time.
I was thinking a little bit of a dance too. Like sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's fast. Sometimes you're like in your grip. Sometimes you're waiting for the next thing. So you've built 2 businesses. What was your first business?
I've built 4 businesses, not all up to 7 figures, but they have all been in different industries. The very first one was in education. It was a nonprofit 501c3 private preschool that was focused on Waldorf Montessori theory.
How long were you there in that preschool? How long was that for?
There was only a couple of years. We had a massive wait list. We hit 6 figures in the first 4 to 6 months. Every business I've had hit 6 figures within the first 4 to 6 months. Hallelujah to intuition. But that was the first one.
What was the spark that made you decide to move from that business?
It was so many hours. Although I evolved into the CEO, that was delegating and running it. I wasn't in the classroom. It was from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And remember, my previous husband gave me an ultimatum. I was then a single mom. So 12 hours with 2 kids, 5 days a week. It was a tall order. It was a magical couple of years, but it was just too intense time-wise.
Okay.
And I wanted to shift to something online, more flexible, where I really felt like I had autonomy of my time since I was a business owner after all.
This is the thing we have to keep reminding my clients. You know what? This is your business. You can decide exactly what it looks like. If you don't want to work 12 hours, you can decide that's not something you want. Create the thing that you want. Create the life that you want, the business that you want with skills that you have.
Yeah. And I had very little traditional work experience. By that time, I'm in my mid-20s. The idea of being told what to do at all with my time or my energy or when I had kids was viscerally repulsive. I would have deep depression thinking about if I needed to go get a job and be away from my home and my kids. I could not be told what to do. And I was a terrible employee. I needed to create something that allowed for my freedom, that allowed for my autonomy. And I'm in no way lazy. Obviously, I wouldn't have 5 kids or 4 businesses, but I am extremely self-led. Those are great business owners. Those are great business leaders, those who are self-led. So I moved into something that created more spaciousness to a degree. And that was a sales agency. We went in and trained small corporations to build their sales teams to 7 figures. It's really different.
It's like night and day almost.
There's not a whole lot of logic to it, which is why I'm good at leading business, because I can follow the intuition when the logic is that silly. Those 2 businesses were really priming me to see what was possible. I did not have formal college education other than that first semester that I dropped out of. I didn't have work experience, yet somehow I was able to build these from scratch. And that was the last 2 businesses over the last 8 years or so. Sophia Mystery School, which I co-founded with my mother, all about increasing psychic abilities. And then
pull for it now.
And then intuitive business consulting, Megan Camille Enterprises. That's where I support my clients now in building their businesses, with intuition leading the way.
Let's make sure we're speaking the same language. So what is intuition to you and how have you used it? Hey, entrepreneurs, are you ready to awaken your brand magic in 2025? The Brand Spark Scholarship from BC and Associates Marketing is here to help. We're giving 3 service-based entrepreneurs a fully funded Brand Spark Blueprint, valued at $997. This is your chance to gain clarity, uncover new opportunities, and create a roadmap to grow your business with an amazing amount of confidence. But hurry, applications close January 31st, 2025. Nominate someone amazing or apply yourself today at bcassociatesmarketing.com/scholarship. Let's make 2025 your year of clarity, connection, and growth.
Intuition is the language of the divine, right? So whatever your reference to or word for the divine, source, God, universe, your higher self, whatever that is, intuition is the language used by your higher self, source consciousness, the universe, to relay its message to the human. So intuition has all information and gives the highest timeline, which is why I root for intuition all the time. Now, how we receive our intuitive inkling, that's different for everyone. I have an instantaneous knowing. I see pictures or visions. Some people hear, or it's their minds. Mine has sometimes felt octopus tentacle, right? Not easy to put into words, but a sensing, an understanding without having to audibly hear it or visually. Most people go, how do I know it's my intuition? Very few people don't notice their intuition. Instead, they get their intuition and they quickly align to their logic. So they miss that was intuitive and they default to their logic.
Do you have an example?
Yes, I do. Well, one of them would be, no, Megan, you should stay in school to be a doctor and stay married to your husband who is doing a very good job at supporting you. No, Megan, there's no way you're going to be able to close that gap between what he makes and what you can make, making up a business, right? So while there was the tickle, there was the whisper, there was the pull, there was so much more logistic thinking that made more sense. When we are in intuitive business, we're letting our business work through us versus identifying and enmeshing with the results. If it fails, I'm a failure. If I can't get my business to go, I have failed. And we're highly identified. Becoming unenmeshed with our business gives us the freedom to go, okay, I'm willing to listen to my intuition, even if no one else can back me up, even if no one else can back it up with me.
So what are some techniques that you can use to become, because I feel a lot of business owners are very enmeshed in, I am a success if my business is a success. There's a direct correlation. There's somebody that I work with, he says all the time that you built a business. That is not a failure. That is an opportunity. That's tuition and learning.
This is part of our life's work. Beyond just our business, self-actualization is the reminder that we are the entire field, and these things like building businesses or dissolving them or families or people passing, they're just the blips in the field momentarily. I'm a good mom because I can do these things for my kids. That's identification. We are identifying with our material belongings. We're identifying with the success or the failure of our business. And so creating the very first step, if no one has done any sort of shadow work or internal family system work, is to just become the observer so that we can create spaciousness between the one living the life and the one animating the life. When we approach business this way, you make a different decision. If my humanness is making the decisions, she can only pull 36 years worth of information. The rest of it is hearsay, right? What my mom taught me, what my dad taught me, those things. When I expand up into my expanded highest self, I have unlimited access of time and information. So when we're making decisions from there, we actually can't get it wrong. I remember being enmeshed. I remember thinking, I am my business. And so when we come up here and we're making decisions, they're different decisions. They look maybe riskier, but actually they're safer.
So do you meditate? How do you get the 30,000-foot view versus the in the weeds view, the enmeshed view?
Yeah, I think meditation is helpful, but again, that could be someone's entry point. It may be not someone else's. The ability to turn and look at yourself and see all aspects of self is a great place to start. That's the one that's coming through for this conversation, is a great place to start so that you're creating spaciousness between your human and you're not convinced that's who you are. I think Byron Katie's work is great for that.
Interesting.
There's so many different ways.
I imagine there is so many. I have a really good friend who uses art. She does art and that helps her get to that higher level for sure. But meditation has always been something that's really powerful for me. And initially it was crawl out of my skin, but the more quiet I got and the more still was, the more I was able to listen. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD and I feel like I needed to quiet my brain a little bit just to stop like that for me. And I agree with you. Everybody has to start where they are. How you get to that place. What do you do?
Now, my daily practice is non-dualism. It's singularity. We have hot and cold, on and off, right and wrong. The ego has to have right and wrong, right? It's how it validates its existence. Now, I understand that's what the ego is doing. I can understand that is what my human is doing. But what is my awareness doing? I'm the witness. What I do is I'm always practicing throughout my days non-duality. Who am I if I don't make this mine, right? I move into the awareness that has no preference. There is no good or bad, just as this is gorgeous, this is beautiful. From that space, we make a different decision, right? From there, this is good enough because it's what is. I'm accepting reality. This is good because I don't have a preference anymore. Or do I have the whisper to guide me into the next step? This is also very relevant for those who get a high off of what they make, right? I made $100,000 cash this month. I'm good. I go in there and practice non-duality as well. Because as long as our emotions move with our results, the business is leading us. We're not leading the business.
There's so many layers to this. I know we could have big conversations, and I'm really curious about more of what you do. My husband and I talk all the time. I feel like he's black and white, and I feel like I live in shades of gray. I just live in a different space than he does. And I always try to explain that to him. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think that there's all these other things that are happening. So I fight with him all the time, but I think it's just the way we see the world. It's very unique, and our experiences are different. So in this space, there's the intuitive, there's the empath. I've always thought of myself as a little bit, meaning that I can feel other people's feelings and emotions. I sense a lot. I've had moments where I'm in church and I'm fine, but all of a sudden I'm really sad. And that's because somebody behind me is crying. I didn't even know they were crying. I can feel things in a really deep level that other people just cannot simply feel. And there's things I've had to work through with that. I have to actually put like a mental bubble around myself sometimes because you can't take all that on. And oftentimes people have said to me, when you walk in a room, Beverly, your light is very bright. Your aura is bright when you come in, like it's big and it's bright. And it's because I don't put too much into my world because I can't. It makes me sad. It affects me mentally and physically when I take on a lot. What's your thought process on intuitive versus empathic? What's your kind of thought in that space? I'm curious.
You're reading and you're receiving everything. Now, what's going to provide you a lot of relief here is if this is not me or mine, then how do I feel?
When you said that, I was like, oh, so much is not me and mine. So much is not me and mine.
So when you feel that wave of like sadness, where you may have gone before, and most empaths do, that's why they feel they need to be protected, is that there's an enmeshment. I feel sad. Even if pretty soon you get the realization that it was someone not me, it's in that moment as close to the horizon as possible. If this is not me or mine, then how do I feel? And my guess here, Beverly, is that you're going to expand and you're going to go, wait, feel quite peaceful.
I feel fine.
But there I am. I'm noticing my bigness, my awareness, my space, right? That goes infinitely. And I just became aware of sadness in the field. And then it just now an empath who feels like they take this home, it is because they have ruminated. They have claimed it as their thought and they're thinking about it. So on top of claiming it, now we have a new story that cover it. And this is why I need protection. I'm not safe to be around other people. And now we have all these layers when really, that was me or mine.
One of the things you say in your work is it's 80% energetics and 20% strategy when you're working with businesses. So talk about your rule of 80 energetics and 20 strategy and how that works and plays out for your clients.
I think that what we're talking about here is a good example of why 80% is energetics, because it's complex, it's multi-layered. So many people want to lean on the strategy because strategy is easy. Strategy is plug and play. There's not a whole lot of uniqueness in business strategy. What is unique in the business strategy is your essence, your codes, your frequency that's fueling the strategy. Every business needs to grow an audience and sell to that audience. Not everyone knows how to do those two things. So yes, you need support there, but it's not where the majority of it goes. I can run any marketing strategy, and if it goes amazing, awesome, we keep it, and then we learn to automate it. If it tanks and it was terrible, right? Have plenty of those. Awesome. Or we're going to try it 2 more times. And that's where most people get hung up in their strategies. Just run it over and over.
Try it.
The rest is internal work. Am I available to receive at this price point? Am I available to have visibility at this degree? Do I actually want to be in business?
This is so many reframes. And that's really where everybody's at, reframing all that stuff, like that backpack that we carry of all the things that hold us back. It's all the reframes, Megan. A lot of this is like psychological too.
There is a certain degree of psychology to it for sure. I sense it more as energetic because between the emotion and the thoughts, one will click off the other. But our thoughts and our emotions all happen after the awakened awareness because it isn't necessarily linear, but our thoughts and our emotions are consequences of something else, which is our energetics.
What frustrates you about the industry that you serve? And if you could change one thing, or if you do that differently, what is it?
I would say what would be most frustrating in my industry is women questioning themselves, and that their greatest asset, which is intuition like none other. Like we literally give life, like our business is its own spirit, right? I would say the biggest annoyance is those that have this intuition and they don't follow it. They lean on the old paradigm, which was heavily masculine and logical. And they ask their partners or other masculine-oriented energies how to do this, instead of knowing that they already are their own internal teachers. They already have something that the other paradigm cannot give them. I would say that's the most frustrating. And how I would change it is by what I'm doing, letting people know that there is another way, being an example of another way. I am pouring into my community so that they can activate and remember their own intuition and funnel it into their business so that they are sovereign in the heart, mind, soul, and bank account.
Hey there, you've just finished part 1 of the Sparking At Your Marketing episode. How are you feeling? Excited? Inspired? But we're just getting started. Next Tuesday, we're dropping part 2, and you won't want to miss it. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter so you'll be the first to know when it goes live. Until then, take a breather. Let those ideas simmer, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning into the Spark and Ignite Your Marketing podcast. I hope you found today's conversation or activation to be something clear and actionable that you can take back to your very own business. If you found this helpful, I'd love it if you take a moment to share your thoughts in a review. Not only does this help us see what's working and what you'd like to hear more of, but it also helps other business owners just like you find the sparks that they need. And if you know someone who could use today's tips, why not share this episode with them? A little inspiration can go a long way, and together we can help more people simplify their marketing and make their business shine.